Composing Gloves here, and this is another neuro-based video. Now, I have done quite a bit actually since the last video. As you can see, it is filling up pretty vastly here. I made a number of changes. Why didn't you take every single video? Why didn't you record every step? I can already hear that one coming from someone out there who wants to see every single thing. Well, first off, that cramps my creative style. So yeah, well, let me give you a preview real quick, but then I'll tell you why. Well, it cramps my creative style, and I do a number of listening from the beginning. I just do so much more listening that it's simply not interesting enough to record and put up. Like, you just wouldn't. I'd hear it from people being like, oh my gosh, why would I want to watch you listen to your track 100 times? Because I'm listening for inspiration. If it's not already up, there'll be a video on listening that I'm going to put up about listening for inspiration to get sort of ideas. So I'm going to play for you what I have now, and then we will go from there, because it's not done yet, but it's certainly pretty darn close to getting to where I have most of the elements down. So here we go.
Darkness, monsters, blackouts. Darkness. It is beneath you. Steer clear. Children are taught to fear. Darkness, monsters, blackness in the near. Adults are trained, conditioned in fear. If it is beneath you, then steer clear. What lies beneath, they say, will destroy you. taught to fear darkness, monsters, blackness in the mirror. Adults are trained, conditioned in fear. If it is beneath you, then steer clear. What lies beneath, they say, you think, will destroy you.
The end. Okay. So you can see I added pretty much the rest of the track, and I established a lot more mood and did things. So I'm going to sort of explain what happened. And let me really quick just cover this. First off, I find it to be actually quite a bit more difficult to record myself and do this at the same time. I feel like I don't know. It's just harder. So as far as like what I do, the sort of things that I attempt to do, that kind of a thing. So I decided not to record it. I'm going to go through and tell you the changes that I made, which there are a number of them, and sort of catch you up to speed. And then we're going to talk about as I talk about the changes, sort of the philosophy that went into them. It's not mixed yet, but it is pretty clear. I'm unsure if I will have a separate mix down stage for this. I might not. I can tell you right now, with this many tracks, a mix down stage is just going to be such a big pain. I've got, what is it right now? I'm standing at 34, and I can tell you I will probably end up with even more mixing. There's a couple elements I still want to do. Like I want to take this and pull a pretty stereotypical move on it. So what I want to do to this one is make it unique and do some cool stuff to that. You can see I added in a second part here. So on the listening side of things, real quick, in case you didn't watch the video, sometimes it'll sound fine where I'm at, but it won't sound fine. Sometimes vice versa. The point is, it'll sound different and when you listen to that one section by itself than you do in an entire track. Like this fits a lot better and is sort of a release from whatever we were in a key pretty strongly. So this is like, what the heck? You just switched key or something, and then it goes back into the key because the sound itself is pretty unstable. Now this is actually one sound right here. Yeah. So what's going on here, huh? Well, on this sound, I've got the big rip from the original sample. So before we resampled it to get that other rip near the first part of the series. So it's literally just that bass. I didn't do anything, and I just took the automation from the filter we already had and moved it around. You can hear it gets a lot more bite as we move down. I mean, as we go up. Up has more bite. That's because of that resonance that we've got going on. So let's talk about sort of what's going on. But first, I want to do something to this last little bit. So I want to end the song with this. This is sort of what I want to end the song with. So I'm going to make this unique as a sample and just whatever they want to name it. I really don't care.
Children are taught to fear.
And it maintains its position in the track, or in the mixer. What I want to do here is give the mouth on reactor 5 a MIDI input so that I can change the notes. That way it'll sound a little bit different. We're also going to do a little something else too as we get into this. So I'm going to come in here and set the input port to 1. I'm going to go to my unsorted. I'm going to add final mouth as the name, and to do this, I'm going to need a MIDI out plugin to send MIDI to my plugin. I'm going to set it to the port 1, and I'm going to just, I'm going to put it on C for a little bit, or maybe F, and then F, maybe we'll just go down. Let's just see what it sounds like going down. The point is it just sound interesting. So now,
children are taught to fear.
So here, it'd be better if I kept it on.
Children are taught to fear darkness, monsters.
Oh, let's see.
Monsters, blackness in the mirror. Monsters, blackness in...
Wonder if we could take polyphony.
Monsters,
No,
monsters, blackness in the mirror. Adults are trained, conditioned in fear, conditioned in fear. If it is beneath you, then steer clear. Well, beneath you, then steer clear. What lies beneath, they say, you think, will destroy you. Will destroy you.
I kind of want it to end on like an unsettling note. Like this, ooh. Okay, now for part 2, I am going to reverse it. So it's now reversed. And I'm going to record it with a bunch of reverb on it. So you've probably seen this trick before. It's not really a new trick. So I'm going to add a reverb to it. I want it to be this kind of a reverb. Let's do a large hall, a dark plate. And let's turn up the release time on this. High cut down, no, up. And now let's bring it down from where it's at. So it's at 600 cents up. Let's bring it down to let's turn the effect to just be reverb. So from turn the fruity limiter off. Okay, so that's pretty cool. Now let's take this and record it. Cool, that's what I want. Now let's drag it in here. Get rid of this click at the beginning. Not really super necessary. Unreverse this and hit Control S. Don't lose our progress again. And turn off the reverb. Take this, put it on its own track. We'll name it the reverb and voice. Come here, rename this. Reverb and voice, and what we're gonna do is we're gonna reverse this backwards, and we are going to take this back to 600 cents up.
Children are taught to...
Oh, you know what? It needs to be normal.
Children are taught to fear darkness, monsters, blackness in the mirror. Adults are trained. Children are taught to fear darkness, monsters, blackness in the mirror. Adults.
It would be interesting if we pitch this up an octave.
Children are taught to fear darkness, monsters, blackness in the mirror. Adults are trained, conditioned in fear. If it is beneath you, then steer clear. What lies beneath, they say. What lies beneath, children are taught to fear darkness, monsters, blackness in the mirror. Adults are trained, conditioned in fear. If it is beneath you, then steer clear. What lies beneath, children are taught to fear darkness, monsters, blackness in the mirror. Adults are trained, condition, and fear. If it is beneath you, then steer clear. What lies beneath, they say, you think, will destroy you. This will destroy you.
Oh, that's kind of cool how it just suddenly ends. I kind of dig it.
Will destroy you.
Now on these, you know, what I'm thinking of is moving this one to a separate thing, setting it to only the 19. And slapping a reverb on this one.
Children are taught to fear darkness, monsters, blackness in the near. Adults are trained, conditioned in fear. If it is beneath you, then steer clear.
Yeah, it sounds freaking scary. Okay, so that's what we're going for. So now let me just sort of start talking about what I did. What did I change? Why did you change it? All right, so here it is. Here's the beginning. You notice I wanted to create some thematic material from sort of my voice, and I really capitalized on this voice idea. So I put some of it here, and you notice it in the drop occasionally here, and on the second drop over here. I introduced a couple funny basses just as an overall arching thing. This is like our theme sort of, and then this drop thing is sort of what propels us. One thing you'll notice is I toss in a different bass just to get variation on the end of the drop. And I throw in these sort of weird basses because we need a break from this bigger sort of bass that we've got going on. At this point, it's really become more of a dark step track than a neuro track, but whatever, you know. This thing right here, again, just variation. I capitalized. It's just that one bass. I was like, dang, I have a freaking ton of possibilities. I added a piano in on this, and it comes in over here. It's the Giant. You should notice that I had it on before. The Giant, and it has been turned up, and I had to pan it. I'm pretty sure the XL gives it a stereo, they stereo mic the samples, I think. And so I ended up sort of counterdicting that because I'm using mostly low notes, and that would mean that to the player, they would be on this side, not necessarily to the listener. I don't know what the deal is. And I added this guy down here. If I play some low notes. Whoops. Without this, it wasn't filling up quite nicely. So I did that to fill it up. So yeah, there's a sound there. There's a number of sounds that go on. I have these screams from a Foley pack that I got. The pack is from a Sony Foley 1001 sound effects or something. It's a pack that I paid for. So no, I can't give you those samples. But they certainly help add the element, and they're great transitional elements. It's like, oh yeah. Let's really quick just play through the beginning. The beginning, for the most part, stayed the same. No, it pretty much stayed the same from when we touched it, except for the reduction of these and turning them into these. I do quite like it. It sets the tone right away, and it gives us some cool things, like right off the bat. Children are taught to fear. That's the first thing you hear. So you're like, oh, dang, this is going to be an intense freaking track.
Children are taught to fear darkness, monsters, blackness.
You're not necessarily, I don't care if you understand what I'm saying here. Like, I don't, because I'm going to say it over here. I say it a couple times. So it's not a concern I have. Something that I was playing it in my car. One thing you want to do is you want to listen at various volumes. If you listen at it when it's soft all the time, you'll probably get the impression it's never big enough. You'll end up boosting things. Like, there's all this mess that happens. So you want to be listening, at different volumes when you're mixing and stuff, and listen to it in different environments. One thing that I noticed is when you crank it, the high end becomes rather obnoxious on the voice. So I have cut the high end by about 6 dB, which is quite substantial. But that is what was needed to sort of tone it back, especially when you turn it up, which is I'm anticipating this being played, in an environment where you turn it up. This is loud music. There's no secret about drum and bass, freaking loud. So the bass also comes up way, like all the stuff we did with the sub really speaks when you have your volume up. When you don't have your volume up, then you won't really speak. And this music's not really made to be played soft anyways. So, you know, you're gonna have your volume up, listen to it pretty loud. So the sub will be filled in. So I'm not too concerned about bringing the sub up in any sort of way. And if I continue to bring it up to make it sound loud when it's soft, it's gonna start masking other things out. And so I want to avoid that. I added in over here, I added in these elements, this guy. And it is the harmonica from the massive. I believe I added that last time, or it's over here, the same massive patch over there. And then I have the pad layer from earlier. So nothing new here. I just wanted some variation. They are playing harmonies at times, sort of outlining the minor chord. So F sharp minor and A, and then A down here. You can see the two channels doing their different things, completely set by ear and a ton of listening. So, hey, Tevlo vocal contest. What the heck, man? I entered that. Did not win. I was bummed. Okay, so I should have done some more stereotypical crap. I tried doing chill music for once in my life, and look at where it got me. Freaking nowhere. Shouldn't have done it. Shouldn't have entered it. Okay, so we have the impact. No, I shouldn't have entered the competition. I shouldn't have entered a chill step thing. I should have done something with a little more stereotypical. People, if it's stereotypical, people like it. It's just like the law of the universe. The fear thing, you can't really tell that it's saying fear, but I'm going off of, you kind of know what it said over here, and it's just a cool noise. So not necessarily getting too concerned about understanding what that says. These, so yeah, I'm gonna go probably make a bunch more of these. I never regret making these. These reverse sample things are just friggin' cool. Listen to like what impact this has on the transition. See, that's just great. I didn't even do anything. It's not going anywhere. It's just a sample that I made the sample. So I'm particularly happy about it. So, okay, I did change these to give variation on some of the elements here. I changed the stretching on the hi-hat sample we have. I turned it off. Why? Because I automated the pitch over here. So listen to the hi-hat. You'll notice it changes timbres, and you'll see them sort of shorten up and turn up a little bit as we go.
Children are taught to fear darkness, monsters, blackness, and fear. Adults are trained, conditioned with fear. If it is beneath you.
So you hear it, you heard it go up and down. So that I wanted that variation, and I valued it more than what it was previously. So I just turned that backwards, turned it down. You know, I did my stuff. Another thing, these screams, you might be wondering about these screams. Actually, there's a more important change that some of you might be wondering. How did I change my bass sound to be much fuller? And it could still be fuller, but this is one of those sounds that I get it to where I want, and then I come back and listen to it, and I'm not happy with it, which means it's just a problem with me. When I go play it in the car, it's friggin' big and obnoxious and everything I ever wanted. But when I'm looking at it, there's another rule about listening. When you're looking at it while it's playing, you get like these weird, you suffer different things. You can't judge the same. So I tend to either close my eyes or look away to try and get a feel for if it is a sound that is fine. So, but there was a major thing I did to this that made a huge difference. So on the Harmor patch for that layers, this da na na thing, I changed the notation a little bit, but I'm not going to worry about that. The dark web is pretty much the same, but on the Harmor one, first off, I turned on part B and did this little EQ shape, and that was pretty much it. So that's being included on A. On the distortion, I changed it to cube. I believe it was already on cube. I'm not sure if I messed with this either. You can see the filter where it's at. And I turned off the asymmetry. The asymmetry is making it very sort of late, wispy, and at first it was kind of okay, but it became too much. And so I attached it to that. And then the volume automation was not doing it. Like, it wasn't fixing it up with what I was doing. So I put a fruity low pass filter on it, and I attached the same automation to this cutoff filter. And if you look at how many controllers I have, it's like kind of ridiculous now. But anyways, I did that. So you'll notice that it moves in time with it, creating a much cleaner sound. Yeah, it's just way cleaner. And that's just good. So what did I do this scream? I sent it to 30. I already have things on 30. It's got sort of it's got a reverb combo with a delay. It's literally like if you set up a couple of those, maybe with different variations, you're literally set. Like you may even make a send with just that on it because I send crap to that combo so much. I noticed just now that I have this random kick right there, or snare, whatever that used to be. Interesting. So, okay, other things that happened. I messed with more breaks, but I believe I put that in there before. Let's go back to the beginning. So I did that. I didn't really change anything in here. I am automating the vocodec's volume of the voice, and I changed the low voice, which I believe is this middle one, to be much lower. It's that, that one that's really low and kind of hard to understand. It's more of just filling up the low end for me.
Children are taught to fear.
So you can hear it in there, but it's much softer, so it doesn't like pop out. The EQ shape is in there, all that jazz. This is pretty much the same. One thing I did change, I have this sort of build, and instead of going for like this being part of a track, there's another way to approach this because it sort of fits with my narration. I wouldn't really call these lyrics, just narration. It is, I have the kick and it speeds up, but it's like thematic with the material because the material gets louder. I mean, this comes in, it just gets louder. There's several sub drops from this enormous patch that we have going on. Because this thing's doing its thing and it's sort of our morphine, like background talking, like whoa, how did someone make that sound kind of deal. And it's doing its thing. And then when it drops though, this sub is like hinting to people, I felt too strongly. A lot of people will tell you, I wouldn't be surprised if we get a comment about this at some point on somewhere, but I know about it. They'll high pass their stuff. So there's no bass. And then when it drops, it's like extra boom. I think that it's a thing. It's a thing people do so much that I don't care. I'll do it the other way just so I sound different. Like I don't want to sound like you. But in this case, it didn't work. So you'll notice that I muted these things. I didn't turn them off. If I mute everything, they stay muted. You just alt click them. I believe it's the alt. It's the alt on the right side of your keyboard, and you got to alt click it, or you could use one of these buttons up here does it. And which one is it? It's this one. It's the speaker with the X. And it's, I muted it because I may want it back. So I don't want to delete it from where it's at. So I just leave it there and just turn it off. So if that's what I do. So when it comes in, it's extra like good because now it's mostly high content and I've got this sort of scream. But again, I'm not against having low content come in. I believe I do that on the second break. I think if it flows well enough, then it's all good. So that happens. What else did I change? Now on the mixing side of things, like it became a disaster zone. Like I literally just started doing what I do, reacting to what I hear. And I was keeping in mind when you're listening, you're like, do I want to add a what do I want? What kind of texture? Am I going for mood? What am I missing? Like for the drop here, I was like, okay, I know I got my low end filled up. That's obviously taken care of. But the high end is completely empty. And that's one reason why it didn't sound so... I didn't have everything I was looking for. You sense that something's wrong. So I came in here and fixed that. And I also fixed up the bass sound. So that it had a little more high end content. But it reaches up to like maybe 2K, maybe not. And that's like the softer end of things. So I wasn't going to fret too much about that. The Fletcher-Munson curve comes in play big time when you're listening to stuff like this. So you got to listen at it to what you anticipate your listener listening to it at. Because if you listen at it at a soft volume and then you pump it up and then you're listening to this listener listens to it at a loud volume, the Fletcher-Munson will bring things to be more equal. And so this will be disproportionately louder than this. And if you're like maxing out whatever it is you're doing, you're going to be clipping, and that will add in, but you're probably putting a limiter on it like I am, which creates a whole new set of problems of things just smashing together and just completely masking each other. So there's a whole load of things that goes into it. And personally, a lot of people would just deal with it and sort of make it the way they want it, which is kind of what I've done here. And that's why I will save my things before I mix them down. And I may not even do a full mix down of this if it comes out just the way I want it. If I do mix down, the main thing I would be looking for clarity is just the kick coming through more in the snare and giving and panning and giving things their own spot and doing some EQing. But as far as doing a level mix down, which is usually what the mix down is for, is getting all your levels right, I might not be too concerned with that because the elements that are in the background are just there. Like if I want it in the front, it's already there. So in this particular case, I may not do a full mix down. But anyways, that went on. I changed up the automation at some parts to give better variation. On this, I want this to be louder. Oh yeah, and I made this a unique thing. Just so I could pump it up and normalize it. I believe, which I haven't done. I undid it for some reason. I'm gonna leave that there. That's what I was looking for though. So it just wasn't full enough right there. Plays. I didn't really do anything. Added a couple of these elements, which were very helpful. You'll notice that I actually cloned it and did it twice. Why? Well, it was jamming. And you see, if I establish a jam and then end it after 16 bars in drum and bass, it's kind of a sudden change. So I was like listening to it, again, doing my listening. I was listening for inspiration, like what do I need, what it's going to do. And this break, this is a 4-bar break. This is an enormous break. But it's cool. I really liked it. So I was like, that has a thing to it. So it's not the break. It's got to be something else. And then I was like, oh my gosh, I just need to double it. So I did. And then I was like, if I double it, I need to vary it some more. So I put in some stuff. I changed some of the notes. I added in this sort of the whoosh thing again. And, you know, I just brought it over, changed out a couple of the elements, not too many. And this gave me some aid in maintaining interest because there's a lot going on. So there's a chance for you to sort of just listen around. And I could use another scream, which I love the screams. Okay, so we got through there and I was like, oh, okay, that's good. And then we came over here. I already had this done. There's one thing I want to do to it real quick. It's on, where is it? On 8. On 8, I'm going to add an EQ, another one. I just stack the EQs, man. Just freaking stack the EQs. I'm going to bring down the high end because I was suffering big time in the car from too much high end. Even some of that right there is a little much. I put it after everything because why don't you just lessen up on your processing? Why I have the sound I want, it just has too much high end. So if I change the processing, it may change how other processing, you know, what hits my effects. And I don't want to change that. I just want to change the final product. So I'm going to put it at the end and do that. Instead of, sure, I could be all knowledgeable and be like, oh, this won't theoretically affect anything and do that. But if I have the room and I have the CPU, I'm going to do it that way because that way it's just safer. It is, you know, like idiot proof. So if I make a stupid mistake, so now I won't make any stupid mistakes. And it's a stagnant thing because, again, I might be automating stuff. Why don't you change this one? This one, whoa, I'm on a different channel. Why didn't you change this one? Oh, crap. Did I just put it on the wrong channel? No, there it is. I don't like how it displays the stuff now. Anyways, I put it on this stack, and why didn't you put it on this one, right? Why didn't I mess with this one? How do I know which one I have selected? Oh, you know what? If they're gray, they're not showing. That's how they have this working. So now this one's showing. Now this one's showing. I get it. I get what they're doing here. So why didn't you put it on this channel? Back to what we're doing. Oh, man. I didn't know that. That's one of those conventions. Just figured it out. Because this could be automated. I believe it is automated. Isn't that what we do at the beginning? So so again, just idiot proof your stuff. So, okay, so it's going through here. I don't believe I really changed anything. I brought this all the way up. Like it had the room to do it, so I did. And it made a big difference bringing it up. There's room in the mix because it's sort of just drums in that sound, so it works out. This growl is I didn't make this growl. It sounds like it's just a pitch down lion roar on mono with a little bit of maybe some modulation, but probably not. And it is from the SOR, which I believe is right here. This is a pack I brought from Black Octopus. I was just digging through, trying to find something sort of cool that I could put in there, sort of random. And this was it. There's sort of a few ways to go about doing this sort of a thing. You go look through your crap ton of samples if you have a lot like I do. And so I want to use them. So I'm going to go through and sort of get creative. And I added a little bit of reverb and some delay. It's going to 30, that channel with the delay reverb combo. Or you could try and make some samples, but the sample production is probably better for that because then you get sidetracked with all your sound design. Or you can go through presets like a madman, and some presets work better as effects, and so you could go through and do that. Unless you have something that you have in mind, in which case you could just build it, which is what I do. If I have a thing like that, I'll just build it. So I try to incorporate things from all over the map into what I'm doing. You'll notice this is the intro. I had the intro sitting over here, and I was like, this is a good chance to sort of be a bridge. So I made this a bridge after this. So I'm establishing mood. It's like a restatement of the beginning, only with like new voices. And it's cool because, where am I at? I'm over here. It's cool because, give it a listen. I found this in one of my, in the Sony packs that I have. And it's just this low rumble. And I was like, that's pretty cool. So I put that in the background, and the automation from our sort of crazy bass sound combined with the layers in the intro plus this, which is also hitting on 18 as a very similar delay reverb combo, but it gets turned automated on and off. And it's also got some EQ specific to the channel on it. So here it just creates this great atmosphere that lays the foundation to introduce the piano. Then I use the piano later and I use the same drop. I change a few things, but I use it to reinforce the new bass. So I introduce an element here to introduce another element here, which is a really last minute thing to sort of add, is that right there. From there, I do some stuff. Let's see, what do I do here? I do a couple things with this resampled bass. Other than that, it's just variation, changed maybe a couple rips, how things mixed in here. But it's for the most part the same bass, because if I threw an I could throw in another bass entirely, but it just jams. Like the second time you hit it, you're like, from the first one, you're sort of expecting it, but when it happens again, it's just like, yeah, it doesn't get old. This one, I didn't get the vibe that it felt old. So I was like, oh, okay. So this works out in this case. If it feels old, then you're going to want to change some stuff. But in this case, there's so much going on that it's sort of, the second time, it's almost more enjoyable because now you're able to grab a bit more of what is happening. So let's play through that part. I want to show you, because just listen to all the little things going on in the background. It's like, it's crazy. You hear that? I wanna point out that doo. Oh man, I love that. It just happened from the automation here. It just happened, and I was so digging it. Where are the notes?
Taught to fear darkness, monsters, blackness in fear. Adults are trained, conditioned in fear. If it is beneath you, then steer clear. What lies beneath, they say.
So yeah, so we do that, and as you can see, that fits quite nicely. If you want to know how to make this bass, because it was done earlier in the series, so just go look up the earlier videos. I don't remember which one I added it in. I believe it was like one of the first things I did was create that crazy sounding bass, and then I resampled it to get the bass from over here. This thing. So I did that, and then this last part, you see, I just jammed with what I had because I have so much content now. Adding new content wouldn't be a really great idea, especially after this enormous sound is now the function of our drop. I added in these guys, which they felt a little soft to me, and these guys are just loops that vary. People are going to be paying attention to the bass, but they just add variation in the background. That's all they do. And after that, I end with my creepy voice. And yeah, let's just give it. I want to listen to the end because I haven't really given that a solid listen.
Children are taught to fear darkness, monsters, blackness in the mirror. Adults are trained, conditioned in fear. If it is beneath you, then steer clear. What lies beneath, they say, you think, will destroy you.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's here. I think this is it. I think this is what I want. As you can see, it looks kind of insane. Normally, my project files do not look this crazy. That is something. I normally, just so you know, I'm not that guy who brags about using. When you use them, it's pretty tempting to. I'm not that guy that uses 36 tracks just on the composition alone. I'm not that guy who uses I have things down on track 28, even though there's nothing. It's just sort of arbitrary. I don't know why I did that. It's just the way I copy and pasted some stuff and weird things happen. But I'm not the guy that ends up with project files looking like this very often. I think people who do that usually are just trying to complicate matters. Like they have all their drums separated out on like 4 separate channels. To me, I just put them all on the same channel, or for the most part, where I could take every single kick and put it out separated. I just think that's stupid. And it's just there to impress people. So I try to work, I have a lot of space in between. But for me, this is even with the condensed space, I mean, it is a pretty there's a lot going on. And I tend to just stick stuff where it creatively happens to be. But yeah, so let me know what you think of this track. I think I'm pretty close to done. The next one will probably be on some ideas about mixing. And yes, if you have any questions, let me know. Subscribe and have a blessed day.